with part 2 of the fuel pump install on this 77 F250 of mine. I'm going to be doing the wiring up right now and then securing the fuel line. So here we go. I'm using the Painless Performance Universal Fuel Pump Relay Kit. I've used one of these before on the pump for my gear lube for my transfer case. I have a 203 transfer case that I did some reconfiguring on, so I went from full-time to part-time four-wheel drive. On this, I'm going to locate the relay here on the left inner fender well, and only because it's close to the wire I have coming up from the fuel pump. One wire runs over to the power source. There's the battery. There's the circuit breaker for the other pump that I got running for the gear lube. I'm going to install the other circuit breaker underneath that, and this red wire you see kind of laying here, that goes back to the fuel pump relay for the main power. And then the big fat yellow wire I have over here, according to the instructions, this is for the fuel pump itself. And then the little yellow wire, that's going to go into a switched ignition power source. And what I have here is a switched ignition power source. This was where the DuraSpark was hooked up to before. I eliminated DuraSpark on this truck and went with an HEI distributor. So far I like the HEI. I am considering going to a point system. I have a Mallory dual point at home. I thought I'd throw that in there. It's a little less, it's not as big, and it's points, so it should be simpler. If something goes down with this thing, I'm absolutely screwed. So, except I guess I can run a GM ignition module. So, just getting started with this thing. I'll keep you updated as I go along. Okay, today's update on the fuel pump install on my 77 truck, Ford truck. I mounted the relay like I said I was going to do right there on the inner fender well, and I'm soldered in to a connector, a wire that's for ignition on, and then there's another wire. See if I can point right there. That one goes down to the fuel pump, and then the red wire that goes across the back of the firewall. That's my power wire. And then I have a circuit breaker right there on the fender well. A lot of this stuff is going to be temporary, I think, only because I really didn't want to mount that circuit breaker like that. There's a possibility of water can get it in it and stay in it, and that's not good. I'd mount it right where the other one is. But once I get in here and have the motor pulled, then I'm going to square things away real good. But for right now, like I said before, I'm just playing with some of the tuning aspects of this. I'm getting things just ready to go. And then at some point, I can eliminate some of the wiring, the old Ford wiring, and go from there. Well, we're back at the truck project today. I hope to get a lot of it buttoned up. The fuel line secured to the frame. So the wires soldered back that I cut, just in the name of trying to rearrange and make things look a whole lot nicer to work. Rewrapping the 40-50-year-old wiring that's on this thing. Just kind of neaten it up, make it a little easier to work with. So I'm going to put you on fast motion or slow motion. There it is. And let's watch me go real fast. I want to take a quick moment to kind of show you what I'm doing here. This is after I don't know how many years of neglect with this truck. This is actually the brake wire that plugs into the proportion valve. And then this is just the covering that goes over the wiring itself. It's a cloth material. It's just nasty, filled with oil and dirt and what have you. So I'm just stripping that off, and I'm going to be using some special tape. I don't know if it's that special. It's this stuff, Tessa tape. And this is like a cloth material. I bought some Tessa tape from Amazon, and it was more shiny and slick than this. It was hard to tear, didn't look as nice. You wrap up your wires with this, and it looks super nice. If I learned anything from hanging out with the guys here at Convict Customs, it's that get rid of that plastic conduit crap and wrap your wires with this. It'll take up less room and it'll look a whole lot nicer. So with that, I'll put you on fast motion. Well, it looks like it's going to be one of those days. I dragged out the old Radio Shack soldering gun. Had that forever. And 'cause this thing gets really hot. And what I'm dealing with is wires that are badly corroded. They're getting brown. Focus. You strip that wire back and it's just brown underneath, not coppery colored, and the solder just won't stick to it. So I dragged out the Radio Shack soldering iron and went to shake some of that solder off, and that's what happened. She broke. She is just broke. So, playing Z. Hopefully you can see that I've got some of that mess kind of squared away up here. Looks a whole lot nicer. It's a lot neater. It'll make working on the truck a little bit easier just because everything's neat and laid out nicely. Well, I'm almost done. close enough to say I'm done. I've got the wiring all encased all the way back to the back of the truck. Fuel lines are secured. Fuel lines because I have a pressure side and a return side. The pump wiring. While I've been under here, I've been cleaning up some old wiring that's just old and burnt and what have you. So I have these wires to connect. I've been having an issue with the being able to connect them with a solder connection. You probably use butt connectors that have the shrink wrap already on them just to weatherproof them, unless I can find some acid core solder. In my experience, that's the only thing that's going to take care of that corroded wire. Sure to replace and everything. So that's about it. Truck starts, runs. Oh, I didn't have to show you. Hang on. It's a good thing you can't see me getting in and out of that truck. My fat belly trying to squeeze between the door and the cab. And then I thought I had it up in drive, but it dropped down into reverse. That could have been a real sketchy situation here. Okay, starts, runs. Previously, it already tuned the carburetor and the timing using a vacuum gauge. Timing to the highest. Vacuum, turn the idle screws on the carburetor to the highest vacuum, kind of messing around with that. I've yet to road test it to see how it actually runs after that. So that's it. There's a couple things I still have to do, like putting a fuel pressure gauge in there so I know exactly what my fuel pressure is, or at least what the Mr. Gasket, cheapo Mr. Gasket fuel pressure gauge says I'm running. I can't think of anything else right now, but that's it. The truck has been completely plumbed from the back of the truck to the front of the truck with steel line. Again, I should have paid more attention to what I was ordering. As far as the 3/8 line, I had ended up getting steel line. I wanted that copper, nickel, easy bend kind of stuff. There's only a couple things I have to do on this project to button it up. That's kind of boring stuff, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not sure what the next thing I'm going to do other than, you know, kind of button things up. I have a hole in the floor of the bed that I cut so I could get at the fuel fill lines and the vent tube line. Can't really weld right there because of the fuel lines. So I'll probably put some sheet metal down and screw it down into place. Then I gotta go to Lowe's, get a 4x8 sheet of plywood and button that up. So there's so much to do on this truck, but the goal is just to get it to perform and act like it should. It's still gonna be a butt ugly truck, but I don't care. I'm not paying $60,000 for a new truck. So with that, just remember, you're not promised tomorrow. Get out there, do something. Work on an old truck, work on an old bike, car, whatever. Check off those bucket list items. You just never know. Make memories with your kids. That's what it's all about. You don't need a bunch of stuff. You don't need really new vehicles or whatever. To me, it's a whole lot more fun playing around with old stuff because it's a lot simpler than it is today. So if if you're not mechanically inclined, I'm sure there's things that you enjoy that you can do as far as that goes. But if you're in the neighborhood and you want me to teach you something, I'd be glad to help you out. Until next time, see ya.